been fighting Indians. So one guy had an arrowhead in him, and he said, "Yeah, I got an arrowhead right there, and I got the damn fool is on the other side. The one back there's still in there." And oh, they talk pretty rough, but they were really good with kids. That's how come I learned to be like I am. I wanted to be one.
Okay, so now go back. Why did you get the name Ugly?
Well, because it's fit to start with. No, when I was young, I'm the only one I know in Black Powder that has we call a Rondi name. That's already mine.
Okay.
But when I was young, if you was good looking, they called you ugly. If you was tall, they called you shorty. Well, the only thing they think to call me is for the way I acted, I guess, they call me ugly. And I use that now for my middle name. Okay. I don't have one on my birth certificate, so I accepted that, and I've had it only, I'm 85, and I don't know how many years I've had it. It goes so far back. I don't normally sing.
The Red River Cane come from Texas.
What kind of song?
Your choice.
His name is...
I don't want to sing no song. I've been sitting here too long. But I still like you, blondie. Come sit on my lap here, honey, and get in this movie. Come over here. Look at that. I got a lap there. Look at that. I got a leg can hold twice your weight. Oh, I thought it could. Love you, baby.
Love you too.
Good thing I don't live around here.
Why that?
Oh, well, there's bound to be a better looking guy than me likes you, honey. I wouldn't live long. I can't run, remember? In fact, you realize, don't you, that mountain men were not really at home in civilized society. And the only place that they were happy was in the mountains. But don't let them movies fool you. Some of them, they laugh and have a good time. Well, they only done that at Rendezvous. Otherwise, they had to watch every step. They never knew what kind of critter or person was going to be there. So when you come to this thing, there are some things we don't talk about here, but their life wasn't that good. Indians had a hard time understanding because they called winter starving times, and there they were celebrating Christmas. In wintertime, thought white people are crazy. You know, this is starving time. They're celebrating people dying. So now you know their ideas was a little different than the ones that the others have. But most of the mountain men became more Indian than some of the Indians. Said, "Come here, kid, what'd you do there? Why'd you do that? I want to know why." My grandpa talked like they said, "Hey boy," like, just scared me to death. Well, I learned from him. But I want you to know now, when they come out here to this thing, be prepared to have a good time. Lay all your troubles outside, because we're here not to entertain or educate. We're here to be ourselves. And that's what we want you to be. And if you're cranky, you look me up. I can get just as cranky as you can. Well, I've only got one last thing I'll show you. When I got old, I didn't know how much I was going to be like my grandmother, because these little moccasins so I can touch my feminine side. When I got old, I found out something I didn't know. These were my grandmother's glasses. See them? They got bifocals on them. I can actually see with the bifocals. This is not legal, but I don't care. I can actually tell time now. But this lady with the camera, come here. Just to show you I don't want you left out, honey.
And I'll suck your cheek.
Oh, did I like to? Any more volunteers for that? I'm ready. This may be your last chance to kiss an ugly old man. Sir?
Yes.
Have you ever had your pictures taken with that camera?
Yes, I have, and he has taken it.
Wait a minute, and it still works?
Yeah, it does.
Well, I'm really surprised at that, aren't you? Dwayne.
Uh-huh.
My gosh, what rhymes with Dwayne?
Pain.
Well, I've got that part, thank you. I could use a little Dwayne from the looks of you.
Yeah.
Hey, and thank you for coming.
You betcha. You betcha.
It's a neighbor, isn't it?
Neighbor. N-A-B-O-R. I can't spell it any other way. There's them fancy letters that have to go between each other in front of each other, and I don't remember it, so I just made it simple.
So what about your rifle? Is that smooth bore?
That's smooth bore, 62. 62 smoothbore flintlock. 62 smoothbore canoe gun. 62 smoothbore flintlock pistol. Keep them clean. That's basically all there is to it. Keep them clean. Yeah, that's a coon bone.
That's what I thought it
There's
was.
coon bone. There's turkey call. I called in turkeys with them. They work real good.
What's that made from? Just
Wing bone of a turkey.
and it'll work as a call, huh?
Yeah, it works as a call. There's the 3 bones of the wing bones. You fit them all together.
Right.
The wild turkey bone has a different tone than a tame turkey. And it also makes good as a blowpipe for starting your fires.
Oh,
Everything we have, everything we do, there's 2 purposes for it. That way you carry less stuff.
yep.
You have 2 things. This makes turkey call. It also makes a blowpipe for a fire.
Same reason you carry 3 guns, same caliber.
Exactly. Carry 1 bow.
What do you do with your black powder?
What do I do with it?
You got it. Oh, it's in the horn.
It's in the horn.
Okay.
You always keep it in the horn. This horn is waterproof. It'll keep it dry. I've dropped it in the rivers. I've dropped it and got it wet and out and hanging in the rain, and it stays dry. Plug and put a little beeswax around it. Plug her back in there, and
Like
it's
around the
waterproof.
toilet,
Yeah. You fill it through the same end it comes out, just like you load your rifle.
A little bit at a time.
You know, you're taking. What I usually do is put the cup in my hand, make a funnel.
Okay, make a funnel.
Just start pouring it in there, shaking it, keeping it going in the horn. But then you carry your bag with all your paraphernalia in there, your pouches for this and pouches for that. I carry shotgun wads if I use the shotguns. I prefer to use grass for the simple reason you're going to run out of those pads. Where are you going to get them? When you're out in the mountains, you're a year from Rendezvous, there's no way to do it. You got all the packing and wadding and patches you need right down there on the ground. Yeah, that's a beaver pelt. That's what the mountain man went after. This right here.
Yeah.
Went trading for, that's what he was trading. That was his money that he made.
That was a goal right there.
That was a gold. And what they were after, the mountain man, all he was after was this.
Yeah.
And it was in raw form. He'd bale them up. They were called plews. He'd bale them up, take them back to trade, maybe $6 for a whole bundle, or each, depending on what the trader wanted to give him. The mountain man, there was 2 categories of mountain man. There was a free trapper, brigade trappers. Brigade trappers went out in groups. The free trapper went out by himself, maybe another guy with him. He could take and around, just go to different traders and say, okay, what you going to give me for this one? What are you going to give me for this? The brigade were hired by the traders. They had to sell back to them at whatever price they wanted to give them. They had to buy their products, their condiments and all that stuff from that trader. Whatever he wanted to sell it to them for, at whatever price. Naturally, his price was high to sell to them and giving them less. The free trapper could go wherever he wanted to go get the best price. Same way of buying this stuff. He could go buy it at the best price for him.
So the other guys were basically under contract.
They were under contract.
Yeah.
Because when they left St. Louis, they were given their horse, they were given their rifle, they were given all their goods that they needed to go out. And paid by that trader. So they went out free. They didn't spend no money going out. It was all given to them.
Right.
But they had to pay it back.
So they were basically totally owned.
They were totally owned by that
Yeah.
company. Okay. The free trappers who'd trade for it in the raw form, bale them up, go back, trade them in. The traders would haul them back to St. Louis, put them on ships, send them to England. They would process these skins to get this fine hair that's right underneath here, this real fine stuff. That's all they were after, was that. They processed this into your felt and made top hats to the rich and famous. That's all the beavers were worth. It was just that hair that was underneath. Everything else was waste. So the Indians, they got seeing where it was easy to make money or make trade, so they started trapping them. So then the mountain men realized, okay, I don't have to get in that cold water. I'll get some stuff at traders, go trade with the Indians, who like mirrors and beads and fancy silks and, you know, materials and stuff like that. They liked that material, so they would trade that stuff for beaver pelt. They'd take the beaver pelts and they'd add to their pile.
Wow.
So you'd take all year to trap enough beavers that you go back to Rendezvous, and that's basically all you did. Was once a year you'd go to Rendezvous.
And that was your trade. That was
your trade. That's the time that you got your goods that you're supposed to get. A lot of them, they would go back and drink it all, what they got out of it. Then they were stuck without anything to go back out in the mountains for another year. So if you were smart, you got your goods that you needed to start with, and then what was left over, because the money was no good out there beyond the Rendezvous. Money was no good out there.
Yeah, nobody wanted it.
Nobody wanted it. You didn't want to carry it, so you used it all up.
So they all came out of St. Louis. So
That's the starting point. They all came to St. Louis, and they came to Westport, which is now Kansas City. And then from that point, there was a jump-off point to go out west. And once you left Westport, there was nothing till you got to the Rocky Mountains. Then there was nothing out there except you and whatever was out there.
Okay.
And if you got too far north, then you ended up with the Blackfeet. Blackfeet and white man did not get along.
No.
Did not get along. A lot of stuff was stolen by the Blackfeet. So if you had a string of horses, you were lucky to get them to the mountains.
How about the Sioux?
Sioux weren't quite so bad. They weren't quite so bad. But the Blackfeet, they'd come out of their territory down and take everything they get from you. So it'd been a rough life. A lot of 15, 20-year-old kids go out and never came back. Just the ones that you read about, that you hear about, the ones that made it back and forth. But they got smart. They went in and started buying up companies and going out as traders. Like Jim Bridger, Jeb Stewart.
Right.
They all did that. Well, they became millionaires. But the lonely trapper out there, very few of them ever came back. There was thousands of them out there. Because the beaver was really thick back in them days. You could go trap them, and they trapped from about 1828 to 1840 is the trapping season that they did. And about 1838, somewhere in that neighborhood, that's when silk came out. So then the beaver trapping was over. Beavers were worth nothing. They used silk to make the top hats.
So it went downhill.
So it went downhill. It would have been a hard life, real hard life.
You call that a canoe gun, huh?
Yeah.
Short?
It's a short rifle. It's not a rifle, it's a smoothbore, same as the big one.
Yeah.
The reason they call that is they put this on their pack animal. They store it on the top of their pack animals. This one they carry, their pistol they carry on the horse. Okay, when you're going through trees, imagine putting this across the lap, riding between trees. You're going to end up on the ground.
Not going to happen.
So they made the shirt guns, saddle guns, canoe gun, blanket gun. At night, throw it underneath your blankets. You got protection right there in your tent. Just a short little gun. Easy to throw across the horn, easy to load from the saddle. Put it on your foot and load it as you're riding. That one there, try to do that in a canoe or on a saddle.
Yeah.
You can't do it.
Can't get to the end of it.
You can't get to the end of it. So they make the little guns. That's what they call a canoe gun, saddle gun, blanket gun. It was just a short range protection.
And that's the same. Got the little flint in it.
It's got the flint. It does the same thing as the big gun. Does the same thing. Does the same firing mechanism and everything. Uses the same ball as my big gun. I put the same amount of powder in this one. It kicks a little harder when you put the same amount in, but you know.
It's got less range, but
it's got less range. I can hit targets 50 to 75 yards with it. So there's no rear sight, just a front sight only. So you got to learn how to shoot it to get your elevation. Pistol's the same thing, just a shorter version of that, and that's easy enough to carry in your belt or in a holster on your saddle horn. It'll shoot the same ball as the rifles. I don't use as much powder in this one because it'd take your arm off. But I use the same ball. I can load these with shot or round ball. The pistol can be a shotgun, so if you're riding along and a pheasant, partridge flies up, you can get meat with a pistol.
So how do you load it as a shotgun? Is it just the bullets are in a?
No. Everything is loaded.
It's loose.
It's loose. Everything is loaded in individual proportions. You put in your powder.
Yep.
You put in a little grass just to give some separation and to give a little bit more pressure when it goes off. So that way you got the velocity. Put in your shot, put a little more grass in on top. If you don't,
it'll fall out.
It'll run right out of there.
Yep.
So you separate it, you pack it all in, and then you prime your pan. That's all you have to do.
Will the pan stay primed when you're carrying it?
Yeah.
You
They're
close it
sealed.
up?
They're sealed. There's no gaps around it. If I was in weather, bad weather, I'd put a little beeswax just around the outside edge.
Keep it sealed?
Seal it up. It's waterproof. The only place water can get in is that end. Keep it downhill, ain't gonna get water in it. I can fire this gun in rain, in blowing rain.
It's time, don't you think?
I don't see the little one around here that squawked a bit ago.
You'll be all right.
It's just going to be a big loud bang. That's all it's going to be. I don't put no round ball in it. They wouldn't let me do that out here. I'd end up going to jail.
The thing about shooting them buffalo with that gun, how the mountain men and the Indians do it. That's what they use right there.
Natural wadding. Natural wadding. It didn't cost me a dime.
Here comes a little girl. Hang on. You gonna fire his gun over here? Just twist it down in there, huh?
I just get her down in there as best I can. It'll go sooner or later. That's why a smooth bore, it works good on a smooth bore, but a rifle barrel, it doesn't work too good.
Rifle, hang on.
Well, that one's going to kick. I can feel it. When it goes hard like that, it's going to kick.
Another just pounding.
That was going to kick. Now, if I was loading this to hunt, I'd put a ball in on top of that there.
Right.
Then I put a little more grass in just to keep the ball from rolling out. But since we're just doing a blank, and you put your plug back in your bomb. Fire now! I felt that one.
And the buffalo hits the ground.
My name is J.D. Cox, and I'm from Hutchinson, Kansas. And I was born and raised, partially the first part of my life, down in Oklahoma, in Tahlequah, so I have Native American. And and I got into the, as a younger man, I was able to go down, and every first 2 weeks of July was set aside for a family reunion, family gathering, and at that time we down there in Tahlequah, we elected the elders and the principal chief of the tribe. So I got to do that every year until I was about 10, even after we moved up here. And I just could never, you never capture. And the older I got, you know, and we all get busy and we go through life and everything, but this time, so then one time I went to a rendezvous. And by jiggers, that was all it was. Jiggers or not, I was hooked on the rendezvous scene. But 97 was my first year up here, rendezvous, and we had about 12 camps maybe. It was a small venue. Of course, they were trying to get started. But the friends of Maxwell and the people here just went totally out of the way to make us feel welcome, give us the grace, you know, the graces to be ourselves, and to do what we could do within, you know, the reasonable boundaries and limits, and they helped us do all of these things. And you know, the opportunities up here that they have for people to learn and to see is amazing for no fee.
Yeah.
We're down a little bit, and part of it's economics, and the other thing is it's hard to entice the younger people in here because technology rules. And you know, when you say we're going to go to a rendezvous, no cell phones, no TV, no this or that, you have to get acquainted with you. So a lot of the old timers that came here for years, a lot of them are, you know, have passed on, but their memories are still here. And when I come here, I can still come here, and the memories are just as live when I see this little spot here or that spot over there. And then, you know, year after year, I see the same local people from Gypsum, from McPherson, from Canton, from Galba, from Roxbury, you know, even as far as West Line and Wichita. I love working with school children. You'd be surprised how many school children have never partaken or seen any of this stuff. And to them, a lot of this stuff is just out of bounds for them.
Yeah.
You know, they don't know what to think of it. The school district I worked in would pay me to come and set up in the commons area with all of my mountain men stuff and set up and tell them what it's about, the Lewis and Clark area, the long rifles, the Santa Fe Trail, the Plains people, you know, when they're traveling, going to the Santa Fe Trail, Oregon Trail, and to all the people that came through here that makes this land and this part of the United States and Kansas what it is today. This was a crossroads of many different cultures. Santa Fe Trail came out of Mexico. You know, the other trails came from St. Louis and went up north, and the Indian trails was from every direction. So. Yes. So anyway, and what I have set up over here
Okay.
is
Not trying to interrupt him.
Time for a crown ride. I know.
That's a new trap you got there? That's a good one right there. That's a cast iron jaw. That's 1.5 inch. That's a good one. I would guard that with my line.
Well, actually, the part of it is steel. The springs and the frame, the bottom frame is steel, and the pan is steel. But the jaws are cast iron. The trap jaws themselves are cast iron.
And these are formed?
Yeah, and then formed. And
these
those are actually
cast in that shape?
In that shape.
Well, we'll have to remember that.
That's because it's a Triumph, and it's probably worth at least that. And this you've done really well. $3 is a heck of a buy on that one.
Now we'll know.
Well,
We'll hang it.
he said he only used it like 5 times or something like that. So.
Well, he had it hanging somewhere. He didn't have it out for sale. We just asked him if he had any traps, and he went and said, well, yeah, I think I got something back in the shed.